word nature, which images come to your mind? A pond, maybe a forest as well, and also a garden. Let us see each of these closely. The pond, the forest, and the garden have living organisms like fish, birds, and plants. Can you also spot the non-living components? You can clearly see stones, soil, water, and many other non-living components as well. What are the living components called? Do they have a specific name? You must have heard the term biotic before. That's what these living components like fish, birds, and plants are called. Biotic factors. On the other hand, we call the non-living components abiotic factors. But do you think the living organisms can live without the abiotic components? Imagine fish without water or plants without soil. This cannot be possible, and therefore living components interact with the non-living components of the environment. Such an area where the biotic and the abiotic components interact with each other is called as an ecosystem. An ecosystem can be as small as a pond or as large as an entire forest. A pond or a forest is a natural ecosystem, whereas a garden is an artificial ecosystem as it is made by man. However, in every ecosystem, living beings thrive and sustain themselves with the things available in that particular ecosystem. Ecosystem is an interesting concept. But who coined this term? Who came up with this brilliant idea? An ecologist named Arthur Transley coined this term in the year 1935. Next time you think about an ecosystem, do not forget his name. Did you know that these ecosystems have organisms arranged in different categories? What do I mean by categories? In nature, do you know we have things which produce food for us? What are those things? Plants, that's right. All the green plants and trees around you produce food for us. They use the process of photosynthesis to grow. What exactly happens during the process of photosynthesis? Sunlight gives light energy, and plants convert this light energy into chemical energy. Plants are usually the producers of food, and who eats these plants? Animals like goats, rabbits, deers, and many more survival plants. What are these animals called? Well, as they only eat plants, we call them herbivores. There are also animals that feed on these animals. For instance, the tiger may eat the deer, and the snake may eat the rabbit. So what are these animals called then? That's correct. These animals are called carnivores. Animals that eat plants are called as herbivores, and animals that prey on other animals are called as carnivores. Let us now look at a pyramid on how this relationship actually works. At the base, we have the producers. Who are the producers? That's right. The plants are the producers. As they make their own food, we call them autotrophs. What about the ones that cannot make their own food? We call them heterotrophs. Now, the animals that feed directly on plants are called as primary consumers. The animals that now feed on these primary consumers are called as secondary consumers. And the animals which feed on other carnivores form the tertiary consumers. What does all this tell us? It tells us that all organisms are directly or indirectly dependent on plants for their food. What are the fungi and bacteria that help break down the organic components of the dead animals called? They are called as the decomposers. When carnivores die, their body remains undergo decay, and these nutrients then mix up with the soil. I will show you a relation, and I want you to name the different categories in this relation. Plants are the producers, the deer is an herbivore, and the tiger which eats the deer is a carnivore. Now what are these things called? They help decompose the dead matter. They are called as decomposers. Out of all these, which ones can make their own food? The plants, that's right. What do we call them? The autotrophs. And what about these that cannot make their own food? What are they called? They are called as heterotrophs. In our next lesson, we will look at what food chain